Thank you. I now call George Adam to be followed by Claire Baker.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. It's been an interesting debate. Last week I said the debate was mature. It's not quite been at that level. This week, though, I feel the opposition have let themselves down. Jackie Baillie said that she was consistent and the Labour Party were consistent. Well, this debate hasn't shown that at all, because there's been inconsistencies all over. My colleague Bob Droris brought out what exactly are the economic ideals and what will Labour offer, and all we get is the equivalent of a 5-year-old's letter to Santa. We're wishing that I asked Mr Simpson, if you get your letter in now, he gets busy in December. So it's a good chance for you to get things forward there. But Mr Baker then says the budget is damaging. He needs to do something, needs change. It's a difficult budget. Cuts are too fast, too deep, hampering future growth. Well, you can't have it always. You have to make a decision. It's about responsibility, Mr Simpson. You have to actually do something with the powers that we have from Westminster. And it's no rabbit out of a hat, I heard you say. Well, it's called an election. You have a manifesto. You go and have the election, you win the election, then you have the spending review. And if you do it all open and above board, everyone knows what you're going to offer and do. So if I continue, Mr Baker acknowledges Westminster's cuts, yet at the same time says that they want to actually do something different. Now, can I actually remind Mr Baker that it was a Labour Chancellor that said that the cuts that they would have to do would be deeper and tougher than Thatcher? And talking about deeper and tougher than Thatcher, Willie Rennie then has the audacity to say that he was thinking about vulnerable people. Vulnerable people while they're in a coalition government that is attacking people in the disability living allowance. Vulnerable people in our communities who have no idea how their families are going to continue. Mr McMahon and myself and the cross-party group only saw some of the results that will be coming from that a couple of weeks ago. Mr Brown told us to stop whining about Westminster. Take your hand down from Westminster. That's part of the problem, Mr Brown. That's the problem that the Cabinet Secretary has already said, that further powers of independence are needed. But we've been told that Westminster is at war with the economy. Well, the only war that they're bringing to the people of Scotland in the public sector is increasing employee pension contributions and threatening the public sector and Scotland with an £8.4 million per month bill and £102 million per year invoice for the good of it. So while Westminster wages war, the Scottish Government has offered £826 million of Barnett resource consequentials at a time of real term cuts from Westminster, offering £2 billion to the likes of Greater Glasgow Health Board, helping frontline services and people in our communities. Public sector reform in the Christie Commission is, of course, very important. Willie Rennie actually mentioned that the police and fire rescue was not a good example. I would argue that is a good example, because it shows that we actually have the ability to look at the plan and have a centralised force, but at the same time it will be accountable to local people within all 32 local authorities, and it's entirely up to the grouping of local authorities whether they wish to have it in any other shape or form. So for me, that's a perfect example. But I would ask you, if you're looking at public sector reform, Cabinet Secretary, to look at Strathclyde Partnership for Transport. £40 million per year from partner organisations, a corporate cost of £10 million per annum, and loan recharges of £8.9 million per annum, which nobody knows what it's paying for or what it's actually built in the past. So I would ask that we possibly look at that. There are better ways of delivering transport in our areas. But in regeneration, I'm pleased to hear that the small business bonus is still going to continue, and in places like Paisley it's much appreciated. Empty property relief, I think, is a fantastic idea which will help Paisley High Street and other high streets across Scotland ensure that we have shops full of retailers and not empty shops. The 4 enterprise areas, I would like to ask you if you could possibly look at Renfrewshire Council's plan for Glasgow Airport enterprise area, which obviously, if we're going to be looking at things like renewables, we have steel engineering and Dooz and Babcock on our doorstep, along with William Tracy and W.H. Malcolm, who are already working within this industry. And I think it may be a good idea to possibly look at Glasgow Airport. So in closing, Presiding Officer, and I'm well ahead of schedule for a change, Presiding Officer, we live in a very difficult economic times, and at times it is important that we work to represent and provide for all the people of Scotland. The Cabinet Secretary has been bold and radical during these uncertain times, and it's time for a sobriety of thought from politicians, not the heckles that we've currently had from the sidelines. During May's election, the SNP fought a visionary positive campaign. There's the heckle started again. This has resulted in the comprehensive spending review. Under Westminster's constraint, there is hope and vision for our future. All this under the constraints of Westminster. Presiding Officer, we need further powers and we need independence.